Well, that's Season 3, and it really went out with a bang, I'd say. 0 Hour is mostly action, but it's good action, with some great character moments, some really awesome shots, and a lot of exciting things to talk about. Something that I appreciated about this episode is that there's some actual suspense with the characters. There were just enough unknowns that I could finally say with some confidence that I had no idea whether certain characters were going to make it out alive. All the Imperial characters were on the line. Constantine, Price, and Thrawn could all have died in this episode. Kallus was also a major unknown. Even Kanan could have been killed. They certainly teased the concept early in the episode with the stereotypical "you've come a long way" kind of conversation. In retrospect, that was probably intentional manipulation on the part of the writers, but it did add to the peril of the action. And I think a lot of us were afraid that Kallus's escape pod would be shot down at the last moment. The uncertainty made that moment legitimately stressful. Though I think it would have been a lot more interesting if the last time we saw Kallus this season was him entering the turbolift, letting us wonder what his fate was going to be until next season. But that's just my personal taste. I definitely like the prospect of a fully rebel Kallus next season. He's been a favorite character of mine from the very beginning. There were some noteworthy character moments in this episode too. I really liked seeing the flashes of chemistry between Kanan and Hera again. They teased that a lot more in Season 1 and at the end of Season 2, but it's been pretty absent this season. I'm glad the creators are still aware of it, and I hope to see some development along these lines in Season 4. I also like the scenes between Kanan and the Bendu. I admittedly wasn't expecting the Bendu to be so fiercely neutral in the whole thing, and Kanan actually came off as somewhat naive that the Bendu would take his side. And in some ways, Kanan was kind of a voice for the audience, at least me personally, who felt that the Bendu was maybe being unreasonable. But an ancient supernatural being probably does have a very different view of mortal conflict, and his ostensible apathy really makes sense from that perspective. Speaking of the Bendu, that was a pretty crazy little sequence at the end between the Bendu and Thrawn. Firstly, I was surprised that Thrawn's plan of shooting at the cloud actually worked. How can conventional weapons hurt an almost godlike being like the Bendu? But as I thought about it, the concept isn't completely unknown to fantasy. In Princess Mononoke, Lady Eboshi blows off the head of a powerful god with a matchlock rifle. And of course, everyone's talking about what happened to the Bendu. Did Thrawn shoot him and he became a Force ghost like Obi-Wan, or, well, I think the answer is clear that he simply disappeared and the blaster never hit him. There's clearly a scorch mark on the ground, implying that the Bendu wasn't there by the time Thrawn pulled the trigger. But I guess there's still room for interpretation there. Now, there's certainly a lot of fanboyish stuff going on in this episode too, and I'll admit, it is all pretty cool. It was cool to see some of the justification of the mechanics behind the Battle of Hoth, like why a ground assault was necessary and stuff like that. Finally seeing an orbital bombardment, though I was disappointed by the power of turbolaser blasts on the ground. Aren't these the kinds of blasts that are vaporizing asteroids in The Empire Strikes Back? I think they do a little more than this, but oh well. Oh yeah, and this part was cool too. Obligatory mention there for sure. A lot of fans predicted Sato being killed in Rebels, since Hera has his rank in Rogue One, and I'm glad they gave him such a memorable and explosive death. And that brings up a major plot point of this episode. Constantine breaking formation for personal glory. It definitely seems a little forced, but I do think the creators have at least some higher pervasive narrative behind it. At first I was a little confused because it seems like it's a individuality versus collectivism sort of situation. The Empire didn't work as a unit, thus leaving themselves open to the rebels who work as a seamless team. But that doesn't really work because the Empire is supposed to be this cold, faceless collective, right? It's the rebels who are supposed to embrace individualism and the unique perspectives that everyone can bring to the table. But then I remember that Constantine's action was a direct response to Sato's personal choice of self-sacrifice, and I realized the narrative here wasn't between individualism and collectivism, but rather between self-sacrifice and personal glory. The rebels sacrifice themselves for each other and the greater good. They aren't faceless pawns used for the glory of the Empire. They're people who have chosen to lay down their lives for freedom. And this is a narrative that hits particularly hard in, say, Rogue One. The rebels are volunteers. Every single one of them is there because they truly believe in their cause, and that makes their sacrifice all the more meaningful. But what will Constantine be remembered for? Season 3 definitely had its rough patches, but it had a lot to offer too, and the second half of the season was particularly strong. What are your thoughts on Season 3? Too many misses and not enough hits? Or was it ultimately what you were hoping for? Feel free to discuss in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, liking, commenting, and sharing this video with your friends. And thanks for letting me share my thoughts with you too. I enjoyed making these videos and I can't wait to cover Season 4. Make sure to subscribe so you can see those when I post them. And feel free to watch other Star Wars topics I've already covered. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.